Hey TechKnowStuds, time to take a look at vendor management, how we would manage our vendors and what that process looks like. So let's jump into it. When it comes to vendor management, it's a life cycle, and we're going to manage the beginning, how we're setting up this partnership or setting up this relationship. There's a middle of managing this relationship, and there's an end to it, a point in time where we are probably going to terminate this relationship, or it's going to at least change into something else. And so we have this life cycle from a vendor management perspective. It's actually going to be very similar to our asset acquisition and procurement process. And the reason why it's very similar is because there's a lot of parallels between assessing products and vendors, because we're buying products from a vendor. And so we do need to assess the product, but we also need to assess the vendor as well. So what does this look like? Well, first of all, before we even start selecting vendors, we're going to start gathering requirements. Now, all too often, maybe a salesperson reached out to you, or maybe you saw a product demo, or maybe you were at a conference and you saw some sort of product that you really liked. And now we latch on to that product, and that's the one that we want to purchase. But we need to think about this from a larger perspective. Is that product really what you need at that time? Is there going to be another product that's going to be better for you? Are you going to get halfway down the road of implementing this product and realize it's not going to do exactly what you want it to do? So assessing the product first is going to be really important. Once we assessed what our requirements are, what we're trying to achieve, then we get into the vendor assessment. What are the vendors and products out there that are actually going to meet our needs for whatever requirements that we gather? Then we go into, once we've assessed those vendors, and towards the end of that have select a few of the vendors or one of those vendors, then we go into negotiating contracts. So we've got to have some contracts and agreements, and we're going to have different agreements that we're going to assign or agree to between the two different parties. Once we've done that, there's this onboarding process. If it's simple software, this might be a simple process that we have to go through. If it's a more complex project, then maybe we have to go through a lot more onboarding with this. Once we've onboarded them, then there's this ongoing managing and monitoring that we have to do of this vendor. We have to pay the vendor. We have to make sure that they're fulfilling their contract what their contract agreements, what we agreed upon. So we have this whole management process that we go through. Now, often our services with these vendors change. And so there are times when we have to go through change management with these vendors. And once we go through change management, then we come back to more managing and monitoring whatever's changed with that. And so there's this kind of cycle that happens between the management, and we have to go through some change management with these different vendors. And then at some point in time, we're probably going to terminate that contract. Usually relationships don't last forever. Some of them last for a really long time. Some of them are a very short period of time, but there is some sort of a contract termination at the end of when this partnership or relationship is about to end. Now, really, a lot of what we're going to talk about really applies to several different vendor types or product types. What are they selling? Are they selling certain hardware? Is it like firewalls or laptops, or maybe some sort of hardware we're implementing on our network? Or is it some sort of software? Maybe it's Microsoft and it's a Microsoft product or Adobe product, or maybe it's some sort of specialty software, or there's lots of different software out there we could be purchasing. Or maybe it's some sort of service provider, like maybe a cloud service provider. Maybe it's AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. And so we have these different vendor types. Now, sometimes a service provider is just going to provide a service for a short period of time. Maybe it's a project. We sign some sort of agreement that they're going to come in, provide that service for a short period of time. Maybe it's like pen testing. They're going to do the pen testing. It's done and over with, and then the contract is ended. But sometimes we have ongoing services that they're providing for us. We call this a managed service provider, that they're managing one of the services that traditionally maybe has been internally, but now they're managing it for us. And one example of that is help desk. So one time I hired a company to come in and manage our help desk for us, and then we started routing calls to this help desk provider rather than internally, and have somebody internally that would do that for us. And so they would provide help desk services for us. So that is an example as a managed service provider. They could also be taking over possibly our security, managing our security, or maybe it's our network, or maybe it's our infrastructure. So they could be managing different aspects of our organization.